A desperate search and rescue mission underway right now. A U.S. Navy plane crashing into the ocean with 11 crew members on board.
8 of those American service members have been found.
Roy Moore denies it. We don't need a liberal person in there, a Democrat.
He has impeccable integrity. Give John Conyers a big round of applause.
Sexual harassment allegations against the longest-serving member of the House, Michigan's John Conyers.
The FBI is now offering a $25,000 reward for any information on the death of this U.S. border agent.
We need to get serious about this border security, because without that, incidents like this are going to continue to happen.
Teen Idol and Partridge Family star David Cassidy has died of organ failure. Cassidy was 67 years old.
Drumstick, you are hereby pardoned.
This is a Fox News alert. A miracle at sea. 8 people found alive and in good condition after their Navy jet crashed into the Pacific.
11 passengers and crew on board the C2 Greyhound when it went down off the coast of Japan. A desperate search and rescue effort now underway to find the remaining 3 people.
All right, the plane is part of the Navy's 7th Fleet and has been taking part in the ongoing naval exercises with Japan. The aircraft was meant to land on the USS Ronald Reagan in the Philippine Sea.
The 7th Fleet has had 2 fatal accidents in Asian waters just this year involving the USS Fitzgerald and the USS John McCain. 17 sailors died there. 8 top Navy officials have been removed from their post. A moment ago, I said it was a jet. Looks like a prop job.
Great news that they have recovered 8 of those individuals.
A miracle
And that
indeed.
story was breaking this morning on Fox and Friends First. I didn't know if they were going to be recovered. They didn't find any. They had not found any of them yet.
Good news for their
Yeah, it
families.
was.
All right.
Meanwhile, President Trump is back at the winter White House. He landed overnight down in Palm Beach, down in Florida, for Thanksgiving.
But before leaving, the president breaks his silence on Roy Moore's sexual misconduct and a bit of a surprise about those allegations in some remarks before he left.
And look who's here. It's Griff Jenkins. He joins us from our nation's capital with details on what the president said. Good morning, Griff.
Good morning.
Good morning, guys. Happy early Thanksgiving. The president heading out the door for Thanksgiving in Mar-a-Lago, weighing in on the Alabama race and the scandal involving Republican candidate Roy Moore, who has been accused of sexual misconduct with a minor nearly 4 decades ago, something Moore has repeatedly denied.
Well, he denies. I mean, Roy Moore denies it. And by the way, he gives a total denial. And I do have to say, 40 years is a long time. He's run 8 races, and this has never come up. So 40 years is a long time. The women are Trump voters. Most of them are Trump voters.
Now, the president stopped short of endorsing the embattled candidate, who has seen a comfortable lead in the polls slip significantly, and he took a shot at Moore's opponent, Democrat Doug Jones.
We don't need a liberal person in there, a Democrat. Jones, I've looked at his record. It's terrible in crime. It's terrible in the border. It's terrible in the military.
Jones appeared to shoot back at President Trump last night at a town hall in Huntsville, contending that he has a family and grandchildren, and the notion that he is weak on anything was baloney. The election is just 3 weeks away, guys, on December 12th, and there's no indication whether the president intends to campaign for Moore in the final days. You'll remember Trump supported Moore's opponent, Luther Strange, in the primary.
We're still doing.
All right. Griff, we thank you very much for that. Meanwhile, let's talk a little bit about what is going on in the House of Representatives. The House Ethics Committee has launched an investigation into Congressman John Conyers. He's been in Congress since 1960. A second woman has come forward with allegations, and it was revealed in the last 48 hours that apparently they used $27,000 from office funds to pay the person off. They listed the payments as employee severance.
So this is a second woman coming out with both worked on his staff. So this is significant money. Of course, he denies it, and there'll be an ethics investigation. What I also find fascinating is that Nancy Pelosi said she knew nothing about it. She also knew nothing about that so-called slush fund on the side. For the past 20 years, they've been paying out various congressmen and women. We're about to get those names soon. That was just set aside, taxpayer money, millions upon millions of dollars, just in case they get into some type of legal trouble.
An AP reporter went to his house yesterday and asked him him about that. Did you use a settlement? Did you use taxpayer dollars to pay this fee? And he originally denied it. He then retracted on that later and said, yes, there was a fund. We did use the money for that, but that does not mean that I am guilty. It just meant that we were giving her some severance money because she ended up leaving. Now, Detroit Free Press, which is in Detroit, he represents Michigan. They said that his behavior can't be tolerated. This is at least the editorial, that much less from an elected official, they said, and they are calling for his resignation. They said he must go.
Yeah, there's a headline right there. John Conyers Jr. must go. He said even if they prove the allegations are false, there's no defense for using public money. They said essentially it looks like hush money.
Right. It looks like if you believe some of these reports, it looks like somebody in power was taking advantage of somebody without power. You also understand, too, that the thing that's going to make this so challenging for any ethics investigation is when you get the payout, they also decide they have to keep their mouth shut. So how you get people to talk and tell what happened if they are under an agreement not to talk about it? So good luck with that investigation.
Laura Ingraham last night was talking about the whole sweep of things going on in the world right now, and in particular in Congress, and says, you know what? This is probably a good case for term limits.
When the government is this large and this unwieldy, mischief is bound to follow, both personal and professional. And soon no one is looking out for the people. They're just looking to cover themselves. And representatives, well, they settle into their positions of power, and year after year, term after term, they tune out their constituents. And pretty soon, they're taking orders from the swamp rather than the people. So if we want to end the corruption and move legislation on Capitol Hill, we need the old-timers to do the decent thing and begin to retire.
Yeah, it's also, you could say they've been too long, or you could just say, just don't act like that. A lot of people are at jobs in every major city and small city across the country, and just because they've been at a job a long time doesn't mean you're grabbing people's butts.
So anyway, he has been in Congress since 1960. The President of the United States is up down at Mar-a-Lago. He arose, we believe, about 30 minutes ago because he started tweeting. And once again, he is taking a shot at the father of one of the 3 young men from the UCLA basketball team that he helped spring in China.
He wrote, it wasn't the White House, it wasn't the State Department, it wasn't Father LeVar's so-called people on the ground in China that got his son out of a long-term prison sentence. It was me. Too bad. LeVar is just a poor man's version of Don King, but without the hair.
Whoa.
Just think, LeVar, you could have spent the next 5 to 10 years during Thanksgiving with your son in China, but no NBA contract to support you. But remember, LeVar, shoplifting is not a little thing. It's a really big deal, especially in China. Ungrateful fool.
Yeah, unbelievable. So we're going to ignite this. Now, people know LeVar Ball in the sports world. They know he says outrageous things. They also know he raised, outside the shoplifting, 3 outstanding young men who are fantastic basketball players. But this guy, I am not sure during that interview that it wasn't a total put-on CNN, that it wasn't a total act, because the things he said about, well, the only reason I'll thank you is if you put him on Air Force One and took him back. You know, he didn't go there just to get my son out, then I would thank you. Why was he there to begin with? Of course, he was on a Far East tour, nothing to do with your son shoplifting. So a lot of things he was saying was so bizarre, I think it was a put-on.
By CNN. You're thinking CNN had him on?
No, I think that LeVar Ball, the CNN wanted to do a normal interview, and LeVar Ball went into the entertainment mode.
But
why would he do that, though? What's the benefit of that?
Think about it, though. I mean, he's a guy who loves the headlines.
Yes.
And if you woke up yesterday, you saw all the blogs about this guy was unhinged, and then you wound up watching it.
And he sells more stuff. Shannon Sharp, hardly somebody who runs to the president's defense. This time he did on Fox Sports 1.
We speak very highly of LeVar.
Yep.
But that was the dumbest thing he ever could have said. The president of the United States did not go visit his son in jail. So therefore, he's not going to say thank you. I can assure you, President Trump mentioning to the Chinese president didn't hurt his situation. I see why President Trump used the word ungrateful.
Okay, let's keep it with football. And now there is a story out of the Washington Post as of yesterday afternoon. Most NFL owners now, given the backlash and how their ratings are dwindling, are considering that they may keep the players in the locker room during the national anthem. They're going to officially vote on it in March. But you know what? That's an idea that, once again, the president in the last 5 minutes has tweeted out as well.
Yeah. That's akin to, I'm worried about the kids coming to school late every day, so let's just not have them come to school. The president tweeted this out. The NFL is now thinking about a new idea, keeping teams in the locker room during the national anthem. That's almost as bad as kneeling. When will the highly paid commissioner finally get tough and smart? This issue is killing your league. It's certainly not helping. It's beginning to dwindle. There are fewer players doing it. But I would say this, the only thing worse than that would be to stop playing the national anthem, which I predicted about 6 months ago.
What?
That they were going to stop playing it.
No way.
Now they're going to play it, but they're thinking about keeping the players in. Now you're going to have a bunch of players that go, wait a second, I'm not staying in the locker room. I'm going out to the locker room. That's going to further divide the situation. How could that possibly be a plausible solution?
Well, the members of their team who made this a complicated and challenging situation, they should talk to the person who says, I want to go out, because the players, owners look terrible.
All right, well,
I mean, ultimately, who's going to be watching football tomorrow on the big day? We asked you this yesterday, and the email machine just about melted down. So many people have just had it up to here with the NFL.
So tomorrow is Thanksgiving. These are some big topics that you're probably going to be talking about around the Thanksgiving table, if you do want to talk about politics. We have the LeVar thing,
just
the dad saying all this, the president responding, them going back and forth, and then also this national anthem controversy. Let us know what you think about all these topics, because we're going to be talking about them throughout the next 3 hours.
All right. Meanwhile, it's 6:11 in New York City. Jillian, good morning.
Seems like a Band-Aid to me, but anyway, that's beside the point. Good morning to you guys, to you at home as well. Let's get you caught up on your headlines of the day. President Trump vowing to do his part to bring peace to the Middle East following an hour-long phone call with Vladimir Putin. It comes on the heels of the rare high-profile meeting between Putin and Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, seeking a political path forward, one that would include coordination of anti-terror efforts with the U.S. The call also focusing on the critical need to increase international pressure on North Korea. The FBI investigating Democrat Bob Brady for allegedly paying an opponent to drop out of a 2012 primary race. Jimmy Moore accused of ending his campaign after receiving $90,000 from the Pennsylvania representative's campaign. Moore and a former aide have already pleaded guilty to concealing the payment. Brady has not been charged with a crime. And tragic news overnight, teen idol and Partridge Family star David Cassidy has died. Cassidy passing away at a Florida hospital of organ failure. He rose to stardom in the 70s, launching a career lasting 5 decades. Entertainers flooding social media this morning. Singer Marie Osmond tweeting in part, heartbroken over the passing of David Cassidy. And actress Marlee Matlin saying in part, to me and millions of us, you were forever young. Cassidy was 67 years old. That's a look at your headlines, guys. Send it back to you.
Came on our show a lot. I had his guitar when I was 9.
Oh, wow.
There you go. My sisters loved him.
What, he sold like a replica of his guitars to kids? And
yeah, with a fake signature, his signature on the back. It cost like $4, but he was the hottest thing out there.
He was. Funny show, great show, David Cassidy.
That's when the TV shows became actually singing groups, like the Brady Bunch actually cut an album. That's when things were consistent.
Yeah, but just one album. It's not like the Monkees. Yeah. I mean, the Monkees were a singing group. They did a lot of...
Remember the hard thing? The Brady's cutting an album and Peter's voice was changing? Remember that? Yeah. It was, right. You remember Joel, right? Thank you.
He does.
Going through puberty. Oh,
yes.
Goodness. Okay, it is 13 minutes after the top of the hour. He sold one of his clients a deadly dose of prescription drugs, and now that drug dealer is being forced to pay for the funeral. Is that justice being served? We report, you decide.
All right, and I'll take it from here, despite the way my name's spelled in the prompter. And Hillary Clinton just won't go away. Up next, people react to her latest comments in the brand new Dials.
Apparently, my former opponent is obsessed with my speaking out.
Tough talk between President and key Democrats for the battle on tax reform, and now heads to the Senate, too, as it got through the House. So what do the American people think? After all, they have a role in this. Lee caught her as a pollster with Maslansky and partner. She's a full-time partner. That means she gets a lot of money. And she put this question to the test. Lee, welcome back.
Thanks so much.
The first question that you put to the test that we'd like to examine is President Trump on the tax bill urging the Senate to pass the legislation. Let's see what the American people thought about this push.
I want to congratulate the House of Representatives for passing a vital and historic tax cut last week, and I'm very hopeful the Senate will do the same very soon. We're going to give the American people a huge tax cut for Christmas. Hopefully that will be a great, big, beautiful Christmas present. with the Democrats giving us no votes for tax cuts for purely political reasons, obstructionists. It will be up to the Republicans to come through for America. I think they will. I hope they will. It's up to the Senate.
So, your thoughts?
So you can see there, Republicans are on board. They gave this an A, independents a C, and
Why?
Democrats an F. Now, the reason here, a lot of people would say, look at this and say that independents aren't supporting the tax plan. That's not the case. What they're saying is it's almost impossible for me now to understand who's going to benefit. The messages are so cloudy. The Democrats are saying that it's going to benefit the wealthy. Republicans are saying it's going to benefit the middle class. They're confused and not sure that it's going to happen.
And there's two legitimate plans. Next, Nancy Pelosi, of course, on the other side, wants to rally Democrats and the country to defeat the Republican bill.
They throw a scrap to the middle class, provide a banquet for the wealthy and for corporate America, transform America in doing so. We will not let that happen. Kill the bill.
And then she had a little chant, kill the bill.
There you go. So Republicans gave this an F, independents a C-, and Democrats a B. So again, you would have thought that if the president's comments were negative with independents, that it would have been the case reverse here. That's not the case. People are tired of obstructionism. They're not sure who to trust. They don't like the establishment, and they're not sure that anything's going to get done. And that's why people are responding the way they are. They're just tired of it.
Right. Everything's blurry. Meanwhile, Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton went down to Little Rock to celebrate 100 years since their husband, Bill Clinton, was president. Here's her comments that we wanted to track.
Apparently, you know, my former opponent is obsessed with my speaking out. Apparently there was another, somebody told me, tweet today. Honestly, between tweeting and golfing, how does he get anything done? I don't understand it. So maybe that's the whole point.
So the grades are?
So you can see the Democrats gave it a B, independents a D, Republicans an F. Overall, people are tired of this narrative. Enough between Hillary and Trump. The decision was decided. There's too many issues to be talking about to be focused on
And
this
Lee,
right
we
now.
only have 15 seconds, but the fact that two Democrats spoke out and only got a B, where the Republicans talked about their progress, got an A. We'll talk to you in 2 hours, okay?
Great, we'll be back.
All right, coming up straight ahead, terrorists using cars and trucks as killing machines. We'll tell you what the latest is.
Some quick headlines for you. A North Korean soldier makes a daring escape to freedom. Incredible video, look at that, showing him running for his life under a hail of gunfire. North Korean soldiers shooting him 5 times as he's sprinting for the South Korean border. South Korean soldiers dragging the soldier over to safety. He is expected to survive.
Wow.
And
Watch television.
And terrorists could turn your car into a killing machine while you're behind the wheel. Experts now warning hackers can remotely take over and even lock you inside your car, especially cars with access to Wi-Fi. Those are the most vulnerable to these cyber attacks. The government's being urged to step up software security.
Fantastic. Great.
Do you have that on your cars?
No, I don't. I have Sirius, though. Meanwhile,
if you have Wi-Fi.
Yeah, oh, good. Hey, a story of how music matters. Pixar's 19th movie, Coco, is about a young boy's journey to find the song within himself.
But the question is it worth your box office bucks this holiday weekend? Fox News contributor Kevin McCarthy is here with a preview. Tell us about Coco.
Hey, good morning, Steve, Ryan, and Ainsley, and happy Thanksgiving to you. Thank you so much for having me on today. And yeah, it's an honor to be here. And yes, this movie is the 19th Pixar film, and it's really hard to believe that 22 years ago, Toy Story 1 hit theaters. And over those years, 19 Pixar films have grossed over $11.2 billion at the box office. But this particular film, as you mentioned, it's about finding the music within yourself. This young boy, Miguel, he loves music, and his family is essentially banned music in the family, and he finds himself on the Day of the Dead, transferring over to the land of the dead, finding a mysterious connection to somebody in his family as to why he loves music so much. The visuals on this movie are absolutely beautiful, and over the years with these Pixar movies, you know they find this amazing balance where they make movies great for kids and for adults, and there are so many beautiful messages of family in this movie. You will definitely have tears streaming down your face as you did with the movie Up and Inside Out, WALL-E, and Toy Story, and this movie really does a great job of balancing out that adult and element and the kids for elements as well. And the animation, as I mentioned, is amazing. The music is phenomenal. And the songs in the film do not just break out randomly. They are part of the movie. And Michael Giacchino's score is absolutely gorgeous. And I think you will find yourself just blown away by the emotional connection you will have to these characters.
How many stars?
I will say this. Get to the theater early. There is a 20-minute Frozen short film. So if you love the movie Frozen, it's called Olaf's Frozen Adventure, the new 20-minute short film that takes place before Coco.
And how many stars?
I gave it a 4.5 out of 5.
Okay.
Definitely one of my favorite Pixar films to date so far. I definitely take the entire family to see it. I think anybody who's a parent is going to be blown away by the emotional connection
So
you
if
have.
the kids are driving you crazy over Thanksgiving, get in the car, go to that.
Any other movies you recommend? Did you do
Exactly,
any other
Steve,
research
exactly.
for this segment?
Did I do any research
Any
for the
other
segment?
movies?
How about a Denzel Washington movie? You got any of those?
Yeah, I do have one of those. I happen to have that up my sleeve, Steve. I saw that movie the other day. This is the new Denzel Washington film directed by a gentleman named Dan Gilroy, who also made a movie a couple years ago called Nightcrawler, which was a phenomenal film about television. But this particular movie deals with a lawyer, Denzel's character. His partner-in-law has a heart attack, and he finds himself out of a job. And it's over a 3-week downward spiral of moral dilemma for the character. Denzel is incredible. He's the reason why this movie works. But everything else around him, the story, and everything else seems a bit mediocre. So every time he's in a scene, you're focusing on his mannerisms, the way he moves, the way he carries himself, and that's what makes the movie work. The problem here is that he's better than the movie itself. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. Definitely a great performance from Denzel. The movie itself is just so-so. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. It's called Roman J. Israel Esquire.
Very good. All about a lawyer trying to figure it out.
And you give it how many stars?
3.5.
I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. And if you want to stay home on Netflix, by the way, there's so many great films on Netflix as well. There's a new movie called Mudbound. You got Stranger Things Season 2. And if you haven't seen the show Mindhunter, which is the movie about the FBI in the 70s and the serial killers, it's an incredible show by David Fincher. It's on Netflix. If you don't want to leave the house, that's definitely an option for you.
One other thing, if you don't want to leave the house,
Well, if you're under house arrest,
you could always watch the Fox News channel.
Right.
Just saying, we've got stuff all
This
day
is true.
long.
This is definitely true, Steve. I'll be
And it's not
watching
about
tomorrow
serial
morning with my
killers
family,
and
no
murders.
question. So I hope you guys have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and I
too.
love you guys.
Right,
Thank you for having me on.
Happy Thanksgiving to you
Thank you,
too,
sir.
Kevin.
All right.
Bye, Ainsley.
Bye. 28 minutes after the top of the hour, actually 29, just changed. A Fox News alert, a desperate search and rescue operation underway right now for those sailors whose plane crashed in the Pacific. And we just learned some of them were found alive. We are live at the Pentagon next.
And the ride server Uber hacked. 57 million personal records taken, and now we know the company tried to cover it all up. Were you included? We're going to tell you what we know.
Happy birthday. Yes, it's time to single out Jamie Lee Curtis. She is 59 today, and she's thrilled we gave her age. Remember she was in that one, Switched? What was that movie called, Switched? Everybody watches it.
We are back with a Fox News alert right now. A desperate search and rescue operation underway in the Pacific. 3 people are still missing after that Navy plane plummeted into the ocean.
11 people total are on board. 8 people have been found.
With more details, we've got Lucas Tomlinson live at the Pentagon with the very latest. Lucas, what can you tell us?
Well, guys, here's what we know. Defense officials say the crash happened shortly after takeoff from the aircraft carrier USS Ronald Reagan, and early indications to point to some kind of engine failure aboard the plane. Now, American helicopters stationed aboard USS Ronald Reagan, the aircraft carrier, recovered 8 of the 11 personnel from the water. 3 others are still missing, and the search effort continues. The 8 people recovered are in good condition, according to a statement from the U.S. Navy's 7th Fleet, and are currently being treated aboard the aircraft carrier. The crash occurred about 575 miles southeast of Okinawa, Japan, in the Philippine Sea this afternoon local time after midnight here on the East Coast. The Japanese military is also assisting in the recovery. The 8 personnel were recovered less than an hour after the crash. Now, the Navy's C2 Greyhound is a cargo plane that delivers passengers and supplies to aircraft carriers at sea. It is a very old airplane, having first entered the service in the late 60s. It is scheduled to be replaced by the V-22 Osprey in the next few years. Earlier this month, the aircraft carrier USS Ronald Reagan joined 2 other carriers off the Korean Peninsula for the first time since the late 60s in a show of force to North Korea. At the time of the collision, at the time of the clash, the carrier was training with the Japanese military. Now, this is the latest accident for the Navy's Japan-based 7th Fleet and comes after 2 separate collisions at sea this summer involving guided missile destroyers, USS Fitzgerald and USS John S. McCain, which killed 17 sailors. Over the weekend, another destroyer bumped into a Japanese tugboat after the tug lost propulsion. Nobody was hurt. Now, on Capitol Hill in the last few weeks, the head of naval aviation spoke about the crisis facing his force. He said an astonishing half of the Navy's 542 F-18 Super Hornets can't fly right now, guys.
You know, Lucas, it's unbelievable because of the toll taken on them over the last 15 years of war, going back to the Persian Gulf War, enforcing the no-fly zone. What's the sense among the people that's serving? Do they not believe in their equipment anymore?
Well, Brian, the sense is that most of the equipment that the U.S. Navy is using is very old. And when it comes to aviation, Fox News and my colleague Jennifer Griffin and I have chronicled the state of U.S. military aviation. Crashes are on the rise. These planes are older. For years, there was supposed to be some procurement, get new aircraft ordered and purchased. But a lot of these old aircraft are simply decades old. How many people are driving, 60s-era cars around town?
Good point. All right, Lucas Tomlinson with the very latest. It sounds like engine failure.
Yeah,
takeoff.
It sounds like emergency funding needed.
Well, that's what I would be fine with, giving my tax dollars to pay for new planes.
The money's there. They got to use it.
All right, it is 24 minutes before the top of the hour. Jillian's got some headlines.
That's right. Good Wednesday morning, guys. We begin with a Fox News alert. So let's get you caught up on this breaking news. A desperate search for answers after a college senior is found shot and killed in her car. 21-year-old Amanda Claremont's lifeless body found in a vacant parking lot along an interstate outside of Dallas. It's the first murder investigation in the small town of Corinth in 17 years. Police have not yet announced a motive or if there are any suspects. A drug dealer will pay for his crimes by paying up. A Cincinnati judge ordering Michael Chandler to cover the costs of a funeral for a teenager who overdosed on the drugs that he sold him. It comes out to be about $9,000. Chandler will also spend nearly 17 years behind bars. How about this story? Uber coming clean about a year-old hack that targeted 57 million customers' names, email addresses, even phone numbers. But the ride-sharing company paid the hackers $100,000 to erase the stolen data. So look at your headlines, guys, and that is frightening news because a lot of people in this country use Uber.
Yep.
Absolutely. We all do here on the couch.
They have our credit card numbers.
I walk everywhere from now on.
Okay.
You should walk all the way to Long Island, home and back.
The only way to be safe. No one's going to hack me.
When you walk right now, it's pouring outside.
Take an umbrella.
Good luck.
Thank you very much. I'm going to use Rick Reichmuth's brand new umbrella.
That's right.
That's right. He just has this new umbrella line. All right, now we're turning to that extreme weather we're talking about. Over 51 million Americans are expected to head out for Thanksgiving, and there are a few tough travel spots.
Meteorologist Adam Klotz is live in the studio where it is dry, unlike outside.
Right, it's pouring outside right now. It's a couple spots we're paying attention to, but mostly across the country, especially in the heart of the country, things are looking good. The last 24 hours, it has been pouring across the Pacific Northwest. That's going to continue. You could see an additional 4 to 6 inches of rain, which means there will be a couple of areas from Eugene up to Seattle where you could see some standing water on the roadways. The other concern is all the rain we're seeing across the mid-Atlantic, but this is mostly a system that's out in the ocean. So just right along the coast, this is going to continue to lift to the north today. By the end of the day today, completely clears out on the backside of it. It is a whole lot colder, but this is your travel weather for the rest of the day. These are the airports. Everyone you're seeing green means we are go. The only trouble spots continue to be the Pacific Northwest, guys. I think by and large, this is looking like a nice holiday. Just those few spots we're paying attention to from now all the way through your Thanksgiving holiday, guys.
All right, terrific. Adam, thank you very much.
Thanks, Adam.
Meanwhile,
she brings you the top trending headlines, and now Carly Shimkus is bringing you behind the scenes with some of the farmers who put a Thanksgiving staple on all of our tables.
We let her outdoors, and she went all the way to Wisconsin for it. Carly, what are you doing there?
I had so much fun. So, the holidays are really, they mean rest and relaxation to so many people, but to our nation's cranberry farmers, it's really the busiest time of the year. So I went, as you just saw, to Warrens, Wisconsin to see what the cranberry business is all about. I had so much fun. I also learned a lot, so let's take a look.
Every day, people across the country wake up and go to work. And while everyone's job is different, some are really different. But it's these weird, crazy, unique jobs and the one-of-a-kind people who do them that make this country so special. Which is why I'm here in the great state of Wisconsin to check out their #1 fruit crop, the cranberry.
Our next step now is to get the berries out of the water and into the trucks.
I'm here at Cutler Cranberry Company in Warrens, Wisconsin, and this is my friend Jessie Resin, whose family has owned this farm for generations, and she practically runs the place. What is it like to work on a cranberry farm?
It's long days, and it takes us about a month to harvest all of our cranberries, but this is kind of the reward for all the hard work.
This seems like a lot of fun, and I want you to put me to work, if you think that's okay.
Absolutely.
So I don't know a lot about cranberry farming, but I do obviously know it involves a lot of water and some waiters, so maybe we can kind of suit up and head
Absolutely.
on out. See how it goes. I've never put a pair of these guys on in my life. But, oh, will you take your shoes off first?
Oh, yes. Yep.
Oh, okay. Oh, I like the sitting part. This is going pretty well.
You're going to get done before I am, though.
Heck yeah.
So just kind of grab on
here. What?
Just like that.
Yeah.
I'll wait here.
Sure, this looks easy. Hold on.
So your goal is you want to grab here as soon as you can. Yep, just like that. Pull and step.
Oh.
All right.
Go down.
Find your footing. There's only the one step,
Okay.
though. So
this is the step, right? Oh my God, if I fall in. All right, I'm in.
Excellent.
This is quite the job.
Our next step now is to get the berries out of the water and into the truck. But we can always use an extra couple of hands to push them along.
Okay.
So that's your job.
Okay, so right now,
Yep, just flip that over.
Thing.
And you just kind of want to push them along.
You know what? Oops. I think I'm a natural. This is the job?
This is it. You're hired.
Well, cranberries usually only come to mind around the holidays. Farming them is a year-round labor of love, and it really takes a special person to do it. And the finished product is delicious.
Carly, you got bogged down.
I got bogged down. Well, actually, in Wisconsin, I learned they call them beds. They call them bogs in Massachusetts. And they're very serious about the terminology.
And half of the world's cranberry fruit come from Wisconsin.
Come from Wisconsin. $1 billion revenue, 4,000 jobs. So it's huge, huge, huge for the state's economy. As you can see, I didn't really help out that much. They gave me a very small job, but I had a lot of fun.
Does your family do the cranberries in the can, or do you do like the fresh cranberries?
My mom makes her own cranberry sauce. As you know, she's a very good cook because you guys spent some time cooking with her. And so it's delicious.
I have not had cranberry sauce that did not retain the shape of the can.
Wow.
Right? All I do is open the top
That
and I
is a
go like
travesty.
this.
Brian, you need the fresh kinds like they were.
Yeah, that's right.
Did you bring any back?
I think you need new beginnings this year and step outside your comfort zone in terms of
Growing up in the
cranberries.
South, I don't even know of a grocery store that sells the fresh ones. We always had the can. My grandmother would put it on a little square plate and we'd slice
it up. I
and
think
it still would have the
delicious like that,
ridges
too.
from the can on the outside.
So these are processed cranberries. Fresh cranberries are actually grown in an entirely different way or harvested in a different way. I also went to a fresh cranberry farm, and that you can find on foxnews.com if anybody's interested in seeing
So
the
you
entire
spent a
piece.
lot of time on the farm. So
I
next
did.
week, potatoes.
Well, listen, I'm willing to. I'm a city girl, but I like the country life.
Now it turns out.
like watching it.
How about it?
Wisconsin, not just the dairy state, also the cranberry
Maker
state.
says that. Yes.
She knew.
Of course.
All right, thank you.
Thanks a lot.
All right, coming up, the internet as we know it could soon be changed forever. The man behind those changes joins us next with what it means for you.
Plus, this vet made it his mission to help America's heroes with painting patriotic artwork. Thanks to you, his life has changed completely in just a few months.
Great story.
How you helped him back on his feet.
Yeah.
Something else to be thankful for on this day before Thanksgiving.